Good evening. This is John Bailey. The name of the program is People to be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. And tonight, you've got Brian Kenney, the director of the White Plains Library these last 4 years, and he's here to talk about how the library has grown, what's new, what's coming at, and the hub. First of all, welcome to the program, Brian.
Great to be here, John.
Right, and it's a pleasure. The library has really grown over your tenure, and it was capped by one of your most successful fundraisers just 2 weeks ago by the White Plains Library Foundation. It was a gala in the library, and there's a shot of it, Mayor Roach addressing the crowd. And we had a great author, Phil Cly, who wrote the book Redeployment,
right.
which is a terrific book, won the National Book Award, and for a first novel, tremendous achievement. And what was great about Mr. Cly was he said how much the White Plains Library meant to him growing up. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that was a nice thing to hear. You know, back when that book first came out, I read an advanced copy of it, and somehow or other I realized that he was a White Plains native.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, we have to get him at the library. I was just thinking maybe we should just get him at the library for an author program. But, you know, as the book sort of got more and more critical attention and all that, I thought, well, he'd be a great guest speaker at the gala. Mm-hmm. In that way, it was great that he was available and that he was willing to come and really support his hometown library in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what he said was
he talked about coming to the library after school. You know, and I didn't even really know if he'd had a relationship with the library, for all I know. But
serendipity.
Serendipity. So he talked about how growing up in White Plains, how he used the library, about how he went to high school in the city, would take the train back here, and would come to the library, work in the library until his father picked him up.
Uh-huh. And isn't that somewhat the way a lot of children use the library today? You really
absolutely.
Expanded that.
I mean, it was fun because he talked about being a kid and the books that the children's librarians had recommended to him growing up, which, you know, I think is a classic thing that's true for a lot of kids. We see kids pouring into the Trove, our children's library, and they turn to librarians for recommendations. So he talked about that and the books that really sort of meant a lot to him growing up. But libraries today and traditionally for children, especially teens, have been that third place. You know, someplace that's not home, that isn't school, there's another environment where they can go, they can study, they can be exposed to programs and services, and they can have a really different experience.
Right. In fact, the library now is a different experience for the youth of White Plains. We're talking with Brian Kenney, the director of the White Plains Public Library for the last 4 years. And right now we have two sections that have been built that have really sort of put the library into the 21st century. The Trove opened in 2005, and the Edge, I believe that was 2011. Right. And tell me, what are the two roles of those and the new plan for the hub?
Sure. Okay, that's a lot at once.
That's right. I violated my own rule, asking a multi-level question.
Okay. So, you know, the Trove, which is our children's library, which is about, as you're right, is about 10 years old. I mean, what the library and the community and the foundation really achieved there was they were able to go into this building, which is kind of an austere building in a way on the outside, and create this whole environment for children that's warm and welcoming. It's a great family environment. There are a lot of different environments. The staff there do tremendous programming. I mean, really what Children's Services is about is introducing kids to story, to books, to text, so they can succeed when they go to school. And then provide them with supports while they are in school, of course. And I think that the Trove, you know, does that magnificently. And it's, you know, it's an award-winning facility. It's been recognized by librarians and communities all over the country. We still have people that visit us to take a look at the Trove.
Really? And the attendance at the Trove continues to grow more so than the previous.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the challenge for us as a library and a community was the Trove serves kids from birth all the way through age 12, sixth grade. So we had this great generation of kids that were regular library users and were used to coming all the time, but then they would hit 12 years old. And there was no place for them to go. They'd have to go downstairs, they'd have to be in the adult area, they'd have to be jockeying with adults for access to the computers in the adult area, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good place. Kids need their own, they need their own facilities, they need access to their own equipment. 12 to 18, 12 to 21-year-olds, they need librarians that are going to look out for them and nurture them and provide the programs for them. We also wanted to, in addition to all the traditional library activities like books and homework help and book discussions, we wanted to really engage children with technology as well. I mean, if you think of the public library as always being this great leveler and providing access to resources so that all children can succeed, we really wanted teens to be able to have access to new and emerging technology. 3D printing, audio-video editing, music production, the sort of hardware and software like that, and that's something that you'll find in the Edge as well. The Edge was a fascinating project to work on. When we all got together to sort of design it, we really took a big piece of real estate in the library. It's about 2,000 square feet, and some people said, "Oh, that's too big. You'll never fill it up." And I think some other people said, "Uh-oh, you will fill it up, and the library will be full of teens." And as it turns out, it's been really popular. You can go in there at 3:30, 4 o'clock and see as many as 40 kids.
Really? On a regular basis?
On a regular basis. They're drawn into different areas of it. Some of them are studying. Some of them will be engaged in a program.
There's no talking, right?
There is plenty of talking.
There is?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Because these are kids, they're after school, they're working collaboratively now. They're there to work with each other. They're on the computer together. They're in, as I said, programs. They might be doing coding together and learning computer coding. There's a lot of talking. One of the great things that our architects were able to do, though, is that they were able to design that space. And this was one of the things that we were really serious about, was we wanted a space that would contain the sound. So that we didn't have to be a complete shush type of library in there.
That's my big memory of the libraries when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we still shush sometimes,
yes.
But it's more often an adult, I think, on a cell phone than it is a kid.
Right. And so now, what was introduced recently and pushed at the Foundation Gala was you are now attempting to get donations to help complete funding for the hub. $1 million been pledged by a donor or donors, and we have to match that to try and develop this space. Why don't you explain this space, the hub?
Well, okay. Just to sort of put it in context, the library is a building that was built in 1974. And it was a really brilliant library building on the part of this community. They built a lot of, they put into that building a lot of meeting room space, a lot of public space. We have a beautiful gallery, a lot of things that libraries, even new libraries today, are considering. But, it's been in existence from '74. It needs renovation. It needs work on its infrastructure. And that's what this project really is about. So, as I said, we created the Trove on the second floor. On the first part of the third floor, we created the Edge, and now it's time to renovate the rest of this floor. So some of it is, obviously, we want new programs and services. That slide that you just showed earlier showed our cafe and Friends Bookstore. which was going to be in the corner of the library, opposite where the children's room is. And it's funny, when I go out to community groups, and I've been doing that for about 3 years, and talking to them about the library, one of the first things that everybody wants, whether they are 8 years old or 80 years old, is a cafe in the library. People want to come, they want to be able to meet their friends, they want to get a cup of coffee. So we're looking to make that happen as a part of this library.
In fact, we have a floor plan of the, right here.
Right. And, before we get to this, I just want to say, so this is this project to renovate the rest of the first floor, which is around a $2.5 million capital project, is going towards these the services, the furniture, the design, and all that. But a lot of it's also the infrastructure. We have to take down that ceiling in that building and work on the HVAC, the less sexy stuff. That's a lot of what those funds are going to as well, I would add. So if we look at that slide once again, I can just show you.
Here we go.
So this is the hub, and as I said, it's going to provide enhanced services for adults. One of the major improvements here is technology. We're going to have new technology, improved access to software, improved abilities. People come in now wanting support with all kinds of things. I mean, they may want to, design a newsletter, for example, for a community group. They may be a startup in some way that might want to use CAD, for example. Right now, we're limited in terms of the number of workstations we have and also what it is that we'll be able to offer. So the technology center is a vital part of that.
How many more computers do you envision?
Well, what I would like is for someone to be able to come into the library and to be able to get right on a computer without any type of wait. So I think we'd probably have to increase our number of computers right now to about 20.
20 computers?
Yeah, it's fascinating. So many of the things that sort of pundits and futurists thought was going to happen hasn't necessarily happened. And one of them is everyone thought, well, everyone's going to have a handheld device, everyone's going to have wireless access, everyone's going to be walking around with their own computer. And while that's true, and there are plenty of people coming into our building with some type of handheld device and often wanting to print from that handheld device, oftentimes people still want to come to the library and get onto that desktop. They may be in White Plains for a few hours, on a job, on an appointment, for one reason or another, but that's still a need. A lot of business people, exactly.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No. It was used as a business resource center.
Oh,
on the fly.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of support for business community and the small business community. People meet with their clients in the library. One of the things that we're doing, if you look back at that slide, you'll see there's a number of office spaces in the back there called collaboration rooms, and that's really like a shared working space. That's how we really sort of see that. So that people in startups, people working on a business plan, somebody without an office can come book that space for free, work there, have technology supports, which helps boost the White Plains economy. Some other areas back there, you see the Language Learning Center. Those are classrooms.
Upper right?
On the upper right, correct. That's a partnership we have ongoing with Westchester Community College. A lot of people don't realize it, but we have over 200 students a semester that are coming to the library to learn English in 3 or 4 different levels. So that's space that needs to be renovated. Tutoring alcove. A lot of these changes that you're seeing really speak to the fact that libraries are increasingly public libraries are increasingly supporting learning. I mean, we always have. That's always been our mission.
In fact, the foundation has a number of programs that they fund of that nature,
exactly,
separate from school fund.
Exactly. But I think that it's an area that we sort of identified and are owning a little bit more.
Now, when does the Trove start? I mean, the hub start.
When does the hub start? Well, we're in the capital projects process right now. So I can't, really predict when this is going to start. You know, I've certainly proposed this as a project. So we have to see how it goes through the year and what sort of steps the mayor and the Common Council take on it.
Yeah, there does not appear to be at this time any more plans for fundraisers specifically to raise money for the hub. That's, I imagine, being planned. But I have a slide of the phone number for the library, so if people want to donate or get involved in it,
Well,
they
that's
can
much
call.
appreciated.
There's the number of the library, and of course, I guess any information question. Who should they ask for?
They should ask for the foundation.
The foundation.
Right.
I see.
Now,
Okay.
I mean, as to the fundraising piece of it, the foundation has committed to raising $500,000 towards this.
Okay.
And they've raised a little over $200,000 already.
Okay.
But and obviously we're looking to individuals, we're looking to corporations, but we really want this to be a grassroots campaign. I mean, we hope that everyone in White Plains would be able to contribute something towards this, however large or small that might really be. So we'll be launching as a piece of this, a sort of a real grassroots campaign as well, to engage everybody in really helping us finish the renovation of this really grand building and finally provide those better services to adults.
All right. So at any rate, we're looking. How long would the actual construction take? About a year?
Yeah,
Because
about
the
a
Trove
year.
was then rather quickly.
Or
So
less.
was the Edge.
Well, the Edge was about 6 months. You know,
That is quick.
I'm hoping
in White
that
Plains.
this would be 9 months. And you know, there'll be some interruption of services. Inevitably, we'll have to close off some of the first floor, but at the same time, you know, we're fortunate in that we have a lot of space. So we'll be using our second floor in different ways, our children's floor in different ways, to be able to have continuity of services.
Now, what do you see the library needing to change for the future? What do you see that you're planning for now or thinking about?
Sure. You know, libraries respond to changes in society. I mean, I mean, a good library is going to be really responsive to its community. So you really have to look at what's happening with your community, what's happening in terms of demographics, what's happening in terms, you know, economically, and then what's happening out there in terms of technology and consumer technology. I never like to speak really even more than 3 years in advance. And in fact, we do a strategic planning process that we do every 3 years just because of that. So what we're looking forward to in the next 3 years is obviously opening the hub and really changing how, well, not really changing, but I would say kind of augmenting what it is that we're doing for adults, what services we're providing. I think as a part of that, one of the changes we've undergone is that we're more than ever a community resource. We have a wide number of organizations that use our building and our space, and I think that's going to only increase. I love it when you go into the library at night and you see 3, 4 community organizations meeting or having public programs there. I mean, that's just a great thing, and that's something that I really see us expanding on.
Okay, now that's sort of a general question. Do libraries really have a place in the internet age? How do they fit with the internet accessibility and, you know, buying print books? That's got to save you a lot of money. Not buying buying not as many print books.
All right, John, a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
Well, if you think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think we were really wondered where libraries were headed. Number one, you had so much content that was becoming available on the World Wide Web. You had Google and other search vendors indexing the content. So all of a sudden, a lot of information was available to people in their homes and then increasingly in their hand. And then, of course, there was the growth of ebooks, which made not necessarily books cheaper, but certainly easier to deliver. fast forward 10 years later, and we have found that we've had a 25% increase in the library, a 25% increase in our materials circulation, and a significant increase in the attendance at the library. And I think that's because of a few factors. One of which I think was that a lot of people rediscovered their public library in the recession. During an economic downturn, that's often what happens, and I think it's very much true here. We have a lot of families in White Plains, and people know that the best introduction to, for their kids is to bring them in and expose them to our collections and our content. And the third thing is you might, with so much content available digitally, it's created its own elements of confusion. People can't always find what they need digitally.
Still the same old story.
Yeah, it's just changed.
You need staff to guide them through the maze.
And then the move of e-government, where so many people who need basic governmental information, now, all of that is available digitally, not necessarily available with a phone call. We're oftentimes the intermediaries for that. The third thing, of course, is the job market. That's moved completely online. So, we work a lot with folk who are job seekers, sometimes very sophisticated, with a lot of skills, but still need help in the process. Other times, they're folk who may be applying for an entry-level job, and they've had no computer skills whatsoever, but the entire process now is digitally.
Right, I'm sort of self-taught, so I'm still scratching the surface.
Well, go onto our website and look at our calendar. We've got a good number of classes. And
self-taught and occasional help from my wife in blundering, tricking the computer.
Right.
But now, you mentioned about help. Do you feel you've had to increase staff over the years, or have you been able to use less staff with this tremendous expansion, 25%?
Well, the library staff as a whole has modestly decreased our headcount over the years. And that's because some of our back office operations, like the cataloging of books and the preparing of books, is no longer done here, at the library. For example, we're a member of the Westchester Library System. Our cataloging is done through the work with the Westchester Library System. I think the trend that is happening with our library and with all public libraries really is, we, the library staff, as much as possible, should be out there working with the public. That's where we belong. There are things that we need to do behind the scenes, no doubt. But increasingly, I want more people on the floor, greeting people as they come in, working with people so that nobody has to wait. Sometimes people do, but really, from a customer service perspective, you want to be able to resolve somebody's question or need as quickly as you can. And the more people you can have on the floor of the library working with the public, the better.
Well, you've given us a tremendous overview about the library and how it has changed. And I want to go back to the hub for a minute. The plan ahead is we need people to contribute to the hub so we can get it started right away. And again, the number, 422-1400. And the other thing is people can call this and ask if the library can help with a particular information need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we're there for.
That's right.
I mean, we're open 63 hours a week. We've got healthy hours that we're there in person. You can reach us by text. You can reach us by phone. You can reach us in person. And we also try as much as possible to get out of the building. That's also, when I talked about our strategic goals before, that's also one of our goals, is to get out there in the community, for example.
Now, if they would want a speaker from the library, again, to come to an organization or whatever, or anywhere in the area, Westchester County, because you're basically the premier library in the county, are you not?
Well, we're,
No,
you know,
well, you
we're,
are, right?
I like to think that we are a very good public library.
Very, very politically
we are
correct.
a
right,
very
I'd
good
say.
public library,
Yeah.
but you know, there are great libraries all throughout Westchester County, and many of us offer very different programs and services. So it's good to look around and see. And one of the nice, I mean, Westchester's really got a great library system. One of the really great things that we do is we share material amongst each other. And I think that benefits everyone, whether they're, you know, working with a small library or a large library like us.
Okay, so we have about 30 seconds. Is there anything you would like to invite the public to do or say to the public about the plans coming up for the library and how they can help?
Well, I'm always looking, and you know, I've got a great staff at the library, and all of us are always looking for ways to talk, to talk with the community. So if you've got a venue or an opportunity, get in touch with me. We'd love to come out to a neighborhood group, a community group, talk about where the library is headed and where you think the library should be headed.
Well, Brian Kenney, Director of the White Plains Public Library, you have been heard.
Thank you,
Thanks for
John.
being on the program. Good night for people to be heard.